I had a big VHS camera. I had to go to the tournaments to record. There was Sport TV. There's this guy selling VHS tapes from tournaments out of the back of his car, and that was cutting edge, right?
Yeah.
But things moved a lot slower.
Right.
So now like, not only John Danaher, but things move so much faster.
Mm-hmm.
Not only are you seeing the things live in person, like the tournaments live, broadcast around the world, but you're also getting stuff even inside the gym.
Yeah.
And the people training inside the gym a lot before it's even gonna happen in the tournaments, right?
Yeah. You see it happen in the gym, and then they go to the tournament, they do what they were working on. And so I think you're right. And like what I was gonna say about, like, let's say Jordan. You can't judge Jordan to Jerry West. But you know what we can do? We could look at the modern era, and I could say Steph Curry is playing a type of basketball that wasn't played before. Right? So like, how would Steph Curry do in Jordan's era? Well, we could say certain things. Number one, the game of basketball is softer now. So like the amount of fouls that they're dealing with now and the free throws they're shooting, way higher. And they've done, there's actually statisticians that have looked at like what is considered a foul now versus back then. And if you took players like Kobe in his prime or Jordan in his prime in the game they played, and you put them in this era with the way they played basketball, how many points a game would they score?
I love your analytical mind and how you break things down. Like I love to hang out with people like that because you just from that, you come from that perspective, Yeah. Have you ever seen the Last Dance? The
Jordan thing? Yeah. I watched a little bit. I haven't watched it all. I owe that a watch.
Yeah, because one of the things, right, was when they went against the Pistons, and I grew up in that age.
Yeah.
And so they beat him up.
That's right.
They roughed him up. Michael Jordan.
Yeah, that was the type of basketball.
Yeah,
that was
and they totally
era.
beat him up. And then he's like, I'm gonna get stronger.
Exactly.
On his off season, he was training weights and everything else, and he was prepared because they caved in on the pressure,
He knew what's coming.
They bullied him,
Yeah.
And then so they came back stronger, and then they beat the Pistons.
That's exactly right. And so what these guys are all
overcame that, right?
Yeah. In every sport, in every space, everyone, and this is what engineering is, by the way. It's like you're solving problems in a space with set constraints. That's all it is. I need to make this part. It can't be heavier than this. It has to be this strong, and it can't cost more than this. Those are arbitrary constraints, but they need to be constraints for us to do anything, right? So basketball, I need to score more points than you, but there's these things called fouls, and I have to dribble a ball, and like there's a 3-point line, and there's the key, and I can't spend more than 3 seconds there. These are all just constraints. And so, and the thing that changes is like the feel of the game. So in that era, there's a new constraint. It's like, hey, there's this element of physicality that I have to address. And physicality involves size.
That they don't have now, right?
Exactly. That's my point. So like someone like Steph Curry doesn't have to deal with that. But you know what he figured out? He's like, dude, I could get really good at shooting from 30 feet away. And now what does that do? That changes the constraints on the defensive side because you didn't have to defend 30 feet out before. You would straddle the 3-point line. But if you straddle the 3-point line against the Warriors, they're going to put up 140 points a game. You can't win like that.
That's crazy, yeah.
Right? So now you have to stretch your defense out. But now there's more opening for cutters. And like the game changes as people change. So that's my point. Like in anything, it's no different in jiu-jitsu. The game changes as the constraints change. So in basketball, what's changed? The skill of the players has leaned in a direction where they're spreading the defense, and the reffing has changed mainly because they want less violence for marketing and they want the players to be able to play for longer so they can make more money, right? So like we want the game to be less physical because we don't need blown out knees. We don't need, and we don't want the brand to look like we don't want these guys fighting on the courts like they used to. Like it wasn't a good basketball game unless you got like 1 or 2 scuffles, right? I remember these things. I remember like whenever they got into a fight with the Pistons, Ron Artest went up in the crowd. Like those were awesome. Like that's awesome stuff. But you can't. That's not going to be sports anymore. That's not the way sports work.
They have the UFC now, huh?
Yeah, that's it. And that's
for the fighting.
That's what, and we have hockey, which is wild. Like the fact that hockey still lets you fight is like that's really cool. But that's why I was saying what I was saying about jiu-jitsu. Like I don't think, and actually I have questions for you, frankly, about jiu-jitsu of that era, but I don't think it should be insulting. Like if there's going to be a day where there's going to be 20 years from now, people doing jiu-jitsu, and I hope they could smash all of us. I hope they can. I wouldn't be if, and I guess I'm not setting the standard of jiu-jitsu, but my hope is that they advance the sport and we're doing things that we never thought about in ways that we never thought about, to where I'm like, damn,